So before I start, I'm just gonna flex on you real quick just to gain your trust. So you can, my advice is not BS. So here are my SAT and PSAT scores. So I only took the SAT once. So I put the PSAT scores here to show that I actually improved, and I'm not like naturally good at any of this. So yeah. Okay, so here are some general study tips. So number one, so if you're gonna listen to anything from this video, let it be this, because this is the most important. So number one is analyze your mistakes. So this is the most important thing because you're never gonna hit your target score if you don't do this. It's like a guided missile. It's never gonna hit its target if it doesn't correct its path, right? It doesn't correct its course. So similarly, you have to correct your approach and your thinking to hit your target score. So here's what I did. So I had a notebook dedicated to correcting my mistakes, and I answered 2 questions for pretty much every mistake I did. I did this more towards the later stage of my studying when I realized I should probably be correcting my mistakes. But yeah, so these are the questions. So the first one is, what was wrong with my answer and why did I pick it? I know that's like 2 questions in one, but just bear with me here. The second one is, why is the correct answer correct and why didn't I pick it? So 2 parts per question, but I think these questions pretty much contain all the things you need to get the most juice out of the questions that you mess up on. If you do this for every question, you'll pretty much you'll stop making mistakes. And of course, you might make like stupid mistakes, silly mistakes, but for the most part, if you do a bunch of questions and you correct all like a bunch of mistakes, you're gonna learn from them, so you won't make them again. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is give yourself time to distribute your learning. Personally, I gave myself like 2 months of the summer. Summer vacation was basically when I studied for this. And this is because that you have very little priorities. You don't have any other exams usually, and you don't have school to worry about. You have a bunch of time. So do this over the summer. And the most important thing is consistency. So when you distribute your learning like this, you have to show up every day. Personally, I did every day for about an hour and a half. Hour to an hour and a half, and that was enough for me, and that exhausted me, to be honest. And I actually hated reading, but I was still able to get a good score because of like the sheer volume of practice questions and mistakes that I corrected. And the third tip sort of matches with the second one. You can combine them into one tip, which is take breaks. So if you're doing distributed learning, you're doing an hour a day. It's not too stressful, like you can handle that stress usually. So if you're cramming, that is not a good idea. So you need to be taking breaks, you need to be resting after you study so you absorb the information. And yeah, those are my general tips. So regarding resources, the number one resource that I recommend is Khan Academy. So this one is a very good platform to practice on because right after you press submit to a question, the answer is right there. You don't have to flip a bunch of pages to get to the answer key and then search through to look for the question that you got wrong or anything like that. It's just right there. So I think it's a great platform to practice on. It's very convenient, and it's online, so you don't even have to flip any pages for this. And anything besides this is just like frosting. So this is where I spend most of my time on. So if you want extra practice, you can check out the Princeton Review and the Barron's books. These are harder than the actual SAT, so don't feel too bad if you don't do well on these. And if you want specific advice for the reading section, which I needed, I used a book called The Critical Reader by Erica Meltzer. This was a book that it dissected the reading section, and it gave some tips on how to analyze texts. Gave some pointers, general pointers, look at topic sentences and so on. And yeah, for the writing section, the math section, I didn't really use any specific resources. I think Khan Academy should be enough, just because it has so many practice questions and you could easily get better at them just by doing practice questions. Because math and writing are more of a logic game than the reading section. So yeah, that's it regarding resources.